Today I've got 5 easy and delicious recipes to share with you. Some are super low effort, some come with a tiny bit more effort, but they're all quite nutritious, I would argue. Though of course you guys know I'm not a nutritionist, so don't ever listen to me really. Let's start this off with a savory breakfast option. I've been obsessed lately with having just super simple fried shredded sweet potato. Yeah, sort of like messy deconstructed hash browns in a way. But these, especially in combination with some of this homemade vegan basil ricotta, so good. Would absolutely recommend. Feel free to prep the vegan cheese the night before, or if you've got some extra time in the morning, then do it the day of. First things first, preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Grab an 8x8 inch or 20 x 20 centimeter baking dish and line it with some parchment paper. Pro tip, wet the paper a bit before you add it so it fits easier inside the pan and, doesn't spring back. To a food processor, add some firm plain tofu, some cornstarch, some nutritional yeast, olive oil, white wine vinegar, salt, garlic powder, and turmeric. I wonder what you are doing. Also some non-dairy milk. I went for soy. Blend this up until smooth. Then add some basil and some spinach and blend again. Then pour this mix into the prepared baking dish and let it bake for around 30 minutes. In the meantime, grab a medium-sized sweet potato, peel it, and then grate it into shreds using a cheese grater. Grab a non-stick skillet, bring it to medium-high with some oil. Once it's hot, add the potato shreds along with lots of seasoning, salt, pepper, chili flakes. For the first 1 to 2 minutes, mix it around frequently because in the beginning the potatoes might want to stick to the pan. Also, what helps is adding a teaspoon of vegan butter. That's gonna make it taste better as well. So then after the 1 to 2 minutes of cooking, what I like to do is press everything down using a spatula and let everything crisp up for about 30 seconds. And then mix it up again, and then repeat that until the potatoes are cooked through and are slightly browned. Takes another 3 minutes or so. In the end, if you want, you can also add some fresh herbs or spring onion to this, and then serve it up. If you've baked the ricotta in the morning, let it sit and cool for at least 15 minutes before taking it out of the pan. But yeah, serve this with whatever you like. We've got some whole wheat bread here in the back that I may or may not have made myself. I also added some spring onion, some cherry tomatoes. This was genuinely so yummy. Also adding some hot sauce is a very good idea, I think. Alright, so now that it's roughly 7 years after the trend, I will finally be doing a recipe on baked Tik Tok oats. At first, I didn't really understand the hype. I feel like baked oats have been around since the beginning of time, but I gotta give it to TikTok. Blending up all the ingredients before you bake them is a very clever idea. Right, so we're gonna be making 2 servings here, simply just because that makes it easier for the food processor to blend everything. Some small cut oats, some salt, baking powder, tiny bit of cinnamon, vanilla drops, some applesauce because I didn't want this to be tasting like banana. Life right now is a movie. Oh yeah, wish the soundtrack was groovy. Too bad. A little bit of sunflower seed oil so we can have a bit more of a cakey consistency in the end. Some maple syrup to sweeten, non-dairy milk, and apple cider vinegar. Blend this up until super smooth. And lastly, mix in about a handful of chocolate chips. You can also add some more chocolate chips on top before you bake them. Divide the mix evenly between 2 ramekins or oven-proof mugs or small bowls. I did not do that. I ended up doing 1 bigger portion and 1 smaller one, but it still worked. The smaller one I baked for 25 minutes and the other one for 30, I think. Let them cool a bit before serving. Of course, there's still that slight porridge oat taste present, but mostly I would say it just tastes like fluffy cake. Yeah, a cake that is not too sweet, so it works amazingly for breakfast. I know there's like some crazy flavors out there of these. Do you know of any good ones that I should try next? I think it was in one of Grace's videos where she mentioned a donut, a jam-filled donut flavored one. That sounds amazing. One of my passions in life is to add weird ingredients to smoothies and see if they still taste drinkable. We've done zucchini in the past and that worked out amazingly. So today we're trying cauliflower. The night before, cut some raw cauliflower into florets and freeze those inside a freezing bag or Tupperware container of some sort. Also, another thing that needs to be prepared is the dates and cashews. Let them soak in a bowl of water overnight, or if your blender isn't the most powerful, I would suggest boiling these for 30 to 45 minutes. And then just blend up all the ingredients. About 1.5 cups of the frozen cauliflower, the boiled and now drained cashews and dates, some vanilla, cinnamon, ground flax seeds, non-dairy milk, and about a handful of ice. Also, after blending this and taste testing it, I felt it needed a pinch of salt as well, a teaspoon of unsweetened cacao powder, and 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. Serve it in 1 to 2 glasses. If you feel like the shake is too thick, then just add some more non-dairy milk. I don't taste any hidden vegetables in this. It just tastes like a very rich cinnamony milkshake. So good. Let me know what you think if you ever make this one. Oh, also, if you're planning on making this for someone else, try and have them guess what's inside the smoothie. I wonder if anyone could actually guess that. Would be interesting to find out. Okay, so this next idea also very much fits into the healthy dessert for breakfast category. It's what I call a chunky monkey breakfast bowl. Essentially just caramelized baked bananas topped with vegan yogurt, a healthier chocolate sauce, and walnuts. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Grab a baking sheet and a sheet of aluminum foil and like 1 to 2 bananas. Peel those and cut them lengthwise in half. Lightly brush them with some coconut oil. Also add a bit of oil underneath the bananas as well as underneath the foil, because my foil ended up sticking to the sheet. So to prevent that from happening, make sure it's all greased up. Sprinkle the bananas with a pinch of cinnamon and a tiny bit of sea salt. And then you're gonna fold in the foil. Create a little boat nest situation here. Now bake this for 25 to 30 minutes. In the meantime, we're gonna make the chocolate sauce. Combine a tablespoon of almond butter with some unsweetened cacao powder. If you want, this is optional, a teaspoon of chocolate protein powder, a bit of maple syrup, and some plant milk to adjust the consistency. Transfer the bananas to your breakfast bowl and then cover that with a layer of plain soy yogurt, a drizzle of the almond chocolate sauce. Can't forget about the walnuts here. Baking the bananas makes them taste so much richer, so much sweeter. If you ever have a really strong sweet tooth in the morning, then this one's definitely for you. What better thing to do when it's finally 30 degrees out than to bake some bread, some whole wheat and oat bread to be specific. To a small saucepan, add some non-dairy milk, some vegan butter, and a bit of maple syrup or sugar. Bring the heat to medium and wait for the butter to melt. Then take this mix off the heat and let it cool down a bit. The temperature should be like still warm, but not hurt when you touch it. Does that make sense? Best to let it cool in a separate bowl. Then once the temperature is right, you can add a packet of dry active yeast and let it rest for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, measure out your dry ingredients. Feel free to combine those in a separate bowl. I just added them one by one to the wet ingredients. We've got some white spelt flour, some whole wheat flour, small cut oats, and salt. Mix everything well with a spatula first. And then switch to your hands, kneading the batter for 8 to 10 minutes, which sounds like a really long time. I love this part. I find it's a very meditative way of getting all your stress out. As you're kneading the dough, if you feel like it's a bit dry, then add a few teaspoons of water or olive oil to it. Shape it into a little loaf, coat it in some more olive oil, and then wrap it up in some parchment paper, placing it someplace warm to rise for 1 to 2 hours. Then you can either bake it right away or let it continue to rise in the fridge overnight and bake it first thing in the morning. Now when you're ready to bake, make sure the oven is preheated to 180 degrees Celsius. Brush the loaf with some non-dairy milk or water, and if you want, dust it with some flour to give it that nice rustic bakery aesthetic. I don't have a loaf pan, and I was worried the dough would spread everywhere, so I kind of kept it enclosed with this glass dish here. Bake it for 45 to 50 minutes. Trust me, your kitchen won't have ever smelled better. Now for the bread reveal. Just for reference, this is the one that I let rise for only 2 hours, and this one here I left in the fridge overnight. Leave it to cool for a good 30 minutes at least before you cut into it. If you also live alone, simply just cut up the entire loaf, put those slices into the freezer, and have yourself an endless bread supply. Highly recommend! And that concludes today's breakfast lineup. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope there was something in there for you. Definitely tag me in your recreation photos on Instagram if you happen to post something on Instagram. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know which recipes or videos you'd like to see from me next. Thanks so much for being here. Until next time, bye!
Life right now is a movie. Yeah, where's the